What's up guys, it's SuperRaeDizzle and today I'm finally uploading the most requested video for my channel, and that is the do's and don'ts of hair. Before we start this video, I want to go over a few disclaimers. Number one being, don't worry if you don't have the exact same supplies that I do. You can use your supplies that you have at home. All it takes is practice, and just practice, practice, practice. Number two is that this is a tutorial for beginners, so I'm going to take it nice and slow and kind of explain everything in a way that you guys can understand. Number three is that my don't side is an over-dramatization of what you really want to try to avoid. And if you're new to my channel, I do do's and don'ts like this all the time. And it's just a fun little thing that I like to do in addition to the tutorial. So, without further ado, let's just start the channel. Let's just start the video.
For this video, I will be using an HB number 2 pencil, a mechanical pencil, an eraser pencil, an ebony pencil, and then finally a tortillon/blending tool. And if you don't have one, I have a video all about making them and alternatives. All right, everybody. So as usual, the do side will be on the left and the don't side will be on the right. The very first step to getting a nice set of hair is to have a nice base. So what I'm doing right now is just creating a nice head shape, and I will work off of that in a second. For me personally, I love to start off with the bangs. And bangs are like the main part of the hair. That's the thing that surrounds the face, and it's like the first thing they're going to look at. And also, you can build the rest of your hair from the bangs. When working with hair, it's super important to try to treat it like it's on a rounded object. You don't want to have straight lines for the hair because then it'll kind of be like it's on a two-dimensional surface and we need it to look 3D. And so right now what I'm doing is just starting to create basic sections of the hair. Don't know how to make hair sections? I got you, fam. When drawing hair, I like to use one specific shape. And I know what you're thinking, like one shape isn't going to fit all, but with this shape, you can manipulate it into any hair section or style that you need. So if you need to make bangs out of this, if you need to make curls out of this, or whatever, straight hair, curly hair, wavy hair, this shape is pretty much the universal base shape. And I'm also going to teach you guys how to shade. So a second ago when I was putting in all those hair sections, I was making like a million of these. Back at it again with the do's and continuing making those hair sections. And hair sections are so much better than ever trying to like put every single hair in the drawing. And the reason for that is that hair sections look more realistic because you can add shadows and highlights. And in real life, hair kind of clumps together naturally, you know. Your hair isn't always just like one strand, two strands. It's always kind of clumped together to create little sections. I mean, unless you have like dreadlocks or something. And don't get me wrong, dreadlocks are pretty cool. We are pro dreadlocks on this channel. On to our first don't. And this is to create the hair in one giant section. And if you're making like a cartoon, I'm sure this would be fine, but it's not how hair is in real life. So once you got all your strands and you're happy with them, now we're going to go ahead and start the shading process. And this is the process that makes everything look soft and nice. And I'm just using my number 2 pencil for this. Back to the cheat cam. Basically what I'm doing with my number 2 pencil is lightly adding strokes to the ends of the shape. And I want to create like a nice soft gradient, and I want to basically create like a high point and a low point of the shape. So the high point, which will be like all the white, will be in the middle, and the low point, which is what we're working on right now, will be the ends. And if you can, try to preserve the high point as white as possible. Like, don't put any like marks or anything just yet. We want to keep that as like clean as possible. So now that you guys had a close-up of what I'm doing, I'm going to speed up the video and you guys can see me fill in every single section. And I hated hair for like the longest time because it is just so tedious, but with this like blending method, it's not that bad. And just kind of as a side tip, notice I've made that shape, but I've combined like multiple to make like long hair. Now back to the don't. I'm just going to fill in one monocolor, monotone, mono shade. I don't know what you want to call it. And people ask me like, why do you not spend enough time on the don't? And basically, why would I spend precious time teaching you guys not what to do? These are just examples of things you might want to do initially to achieve hair, and I just demonstrate how they don't work. Like, you don't want to have one flat surface. You need like shadows and stuff, and this might be your first reaction when creating hair. Back to the do's, I'm going to use both my blending tool and my fingers to blend. And I know a lot of people are cringing right now, but you use your fingers to blend to create like a really smooth, hard, it's not even really a blend. It's like a smear. It blurs everything out and you have a lot of control and it pushes a lot of pigment down. You can do this with a blending tool, but it will come out kind of like lines, and right now we're not trying to get lines. Streaky, that's the word I'm thinking of. In my opinion, using your finger will be the best way to completely make a nice blurred line. We're not going into details though, so later on be sure to get a blending tool. So I'm going to repeat the step of adding lines only with my ebony pencil. And an ebony pencil, I've said before, is just a basic pencil but with really, really, really dark graphite. And I've been really into this because it just blends like a dream. Although you will see later in the video that it's like highly reflective, so my light's kind of like caught on that reflection. You don't have to have an ebony pencil. You can just press really hard with a mechanical pencil, which I actually later do in the video. And when using an ebony pencil or like a pencil that has like really dark lead, you want to try to avoid muddying up the highlights because then you're not going to have that nice reflective surface. You're just going to have like a one-toned looking hair strand, and that's not something you want when you're trying to create hair. And now back to our cheat sheet. And basically, I'm just going to do the exact same thing with that ebony pencil as I did previously with the, I was going to say mechanical pencil, but it wasn't a mechanical pencil. It was a number 2 pencil. So as you can see, I'm just like lightly creating a nice gradient and I'm just building it up so I don't put like straight up black on there just yet. I want to build up the shadows. And y'all know I'm like a broken record when it comes to building up shadows. And I know you guys have heard this like a million times, but building up shadows is really important to create a nice gradient. Now back to our do's. This step is kind of unimportant, but I have an eraser pencil, which is literally a pencil that erases. It's really cool. 10 out of 10. Not sponsored. Wish I was. Those things are expensive. But anyway, I'm just cleaning up and adding extra lines to the highlights, basically just to make it appear more intense and give more contrast to the highlights. I want them to be like bam. So now that we have that step, we're going to move on to the mechanical pencil. And I'm using a mechanical pencil because it gives very sharp and very precise lines. And the lead in this is just like a basic one that you can get at any store. But a mechanical pencil is very important to this step because this is where we start to like define the hair. This is where I start to add a few lines here and there just to give like actual appearance of hair. Like it's no longer just a clump. Now you can actually see the individual hairs. Keep in mind, this is very different than trying to add every single individual hair. I'm basically just adding details and texture. And I am pushing like really hard on the ends where I want more of like a shadow. And that's the good thing about mechanical pencils is you can press like really hard and it creates a very nice dark line. A really sharp dark line, mind you. Back to the cheat sheet, you can see me starting to add those lines with the mechanical pencil. And Right now, when I very first start doing this, I'm doing it lightly and then I slowly progress into like heavy lines. And I am adding like individual little hair strokes to the highlight area, but I want to keep those really light because it wouldn't make sense to have like really dark hairs in the highlighted areas. And the thing about mechanical pencil is that sometimes it can look a little harsh, so I am going to lightly blend it just to make it look a little bit more natural. Now back to everyone's favorite part, the don'ts. And again, this is for demonstration purposes only. And one of your first instincts when drawing hair is to add every single hair. But it doesn't really flow right. Like it looks really heavy and it doesn't look natural. And in addition to that, you can't blend, you can't add shadows and highlights because it's literally just a line. Now, on to the last step, and that is the cleanup process. Notice I'm using my blending tool this time, and the reason for that is because everything's pretty much blended out smoothly. Now, I'm just going to try to create some texture. So, we have the blending tool, and now I'm just kind of like erasing some lines with my eraser tool and just kind of working off that. Again, if your shadows aren't built up right or if you want to add some extra detail, go ahead and use the mechanical pencil. In my opinion, that'll be the best tool to use because the lines are so sharp and you can get a really nice gradient with a mechanical pencil. Now, on to the last clip for our cheat sheet. So, I'm getting my eraser pencil and I'm just erasing some lines and making it look more soft and adding like hair highlights and just kind of making it look more realistic. Again, I'm going in with my mechanical pencil to clean up everything, add more of a gradient, and just make sure everything's where I want it to be. Okay, guys, that is all the tips and tricks I have for you today. If you have any questions, leave them down below. I hope some of these tips have helped you, and I hope I didn't overcomplicate things. If you guys want to follow me on Instagram, I post throwback artworks. I do live streams once a week. People tag me in their art all the time so I can see, and it's a lot of fun. Other than that, guys, thank you again for watching. I love you guys so much, and I will see you next video.